She kept telling him, not now. She didn't know now was the only time that mattered. Priya Okonkwo Reyes had spent 9 years as a school counselor, which meant she had spent 9 years learning to read a child's face for the thing they weren't saying out loud. She trusted that skill completely. She had built her entire understanding of her daughter around it. 2-year-old Sable had been quieter than usual for 3 days. Not sick, not clingy, just quieter. Priya had chalked it up to a growth spurt. A new molar, the ordinary static of toddler life. By Tuesday afternoon, she was sitting on the living room floor with Sable, going through a picture book, sunlight coming low across the hardwood. Titan was a 4-year-old German shepherd who had never once needed correcting around Sable. He understood distance. He understood patience. He was, by every account, the easiest large dog Priya had ever lived with, which is what made that Tuesday afternoon so strange. Titan crossed the room and sat directly in front of Sable, close enough that his shoulder nearly touched her knee. He didn't lie down. He didn't play. He watched her mouth. "Titan, go lie down," Priya said. He didn't move. Sable turned a page. Titan leaned in another few inches, ears forward, and made a low sound Priya had never heard from him before. Not a growl, not a whine, something in between, aimed directly at the side of Sable's face. Priya felt the first thread of unease pull tight in her chest. She knew the literature on dogs and toddlers. She'd sat through 2 staff trainings on animal behavior around children with sensory processing differences. She knew what fixation looked like. She knew what happened when families ignored the early signs. She moved Titan back with a hand on his collar. He came, but reluctantly, eyes still locked on Sable. That detail would matter. She didn't know that yet. By Wednesday, it had happened 4 more times. Every single time, Titan positioned himself at Sable's eye level and stared at her mouth for 10, 20, 30 seconds before Priya redirected him. Her husband, Desmond, watched it happen from the kitchen doorway on Wednesday night and said the thing they'd both been circling. He's obsessing over her face. Priya didn't argue. She had the training. She had the pattern-matching instinct of a decade spent reading behavior for warning signs. "I know," she said. "We can't ignore this." They moved Titan's bed to the laundry room that night. Not punishment, the responsible decision of 2 careful parents. Titan didn't bark. He scratched low and rhythmic at the laundry room door for 2 hours before going quiet. Thursday morning, Sable woke unusually early, unusually flushed. Priya checked her temperature. Normal. She gave her water, changed her, sat with her on the floor while she picked at breakfast. Sable's speech, always a little slurred with toddler consonants, sounded different, softer, slower. Priya didn't catch it. Not yet. Titan hit the laundry room door at 8:14 that morning. Not scratching. His full weight, again and again, a sound Priya felt through the floorboards before she consciously registered it. She was in the hallway before she'd finished the thought. She opened the door and he didn't wait for permission. He went straight to Sable, who was sitting on the rug, and pressed his nose an inch from her open mouth, holding there, completely still. Priya knelt down. Sable's breath had a smell to it, faintly sweet, almost like nail polish remover. Her hands were cool. Her eyes, when Priya looked closely, seemed to take a half-second too long to focus. She was already dialing before she finished the thought. At the emergency room 40 minutes later, Dr. Adiz Whitfield, a pediatric endocrinologist with 14 years in the field, ran the numbers and came back with something Priya hadn't expected to hear. "Your daughter is in early diabetic ketoacidosis, undiagnosed type 1. Her blood glucose was critically elevated, and her body has been producing ketones for days. That's the smell on her breath. Another few hours without treatment, and we'd be talking about a very different outcome." Priya sat with that sentence for a long time, Titan pressing his nose to Sable's mouth. Not fixation, ketone detection, a scent signature humans cannot register, but dogs can at concentrations far below anything a monitor would catch. The low growl aimed at her face, not aggression. An alarm with nowhere else to go. The door, hour after hour. Not separation anxiety, a guardian locked outside the one room he needed to be in. If you stay for stories about what animals notice before we do, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. They brought Titan home from the laundry room that evening. He didn't rush the door. He walked straight to Sable's crib, sat down beside it, and rested his chin against the rail. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense? Until it was the only thing that did. Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Sable's insulin pump arrived 12 days later, small and unassuming, taped just above her hip. That first night with it running, Priya found Titan already lying beside the crib without being told to. He hadn't been told to in weeks. He'd simply never really left. If these stories matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Priya sat on the floor beside them both, the pump's soft click marking the only sound in the room, and Titan's eyes stayed open, watching the same face he'd been watching all along.